Hey kids, how's it going today? Patrick here. We're going to talk about movies and games today. We're actually going to bring everything together. Today we are going to talk about the new movie on Netflix called Bright. It is a buddy cop movie with a fantasy flavored twist. It stars Will Smith as Will Smith. We'll get to that in a minute. It also stars Joel Edgerton as his orc police partner, Nick Jacoby, Edgar Ramirez as a elf federal agent, Lucy Fry as a mysterious elf that our heroes have to take care of, and Numi Rapace as the villain of the piece, also an elf. You'd almost think elves were the villains in this. Hard to tell. The basic plot involves Daryl Ward, Will Smith's character, being partnered with Nick Jacoby, Joel Edgerton's character, who happens to be the first orcish police officer, at least in LA, possibly the country. It's hard to say sometimes. It's an alternate history. I'm not sure, how some current religions fit into it, but a couple of thousand years ago, 9 races fought the Dark Lord. And now there's a faction called the Inferni who want to bring the Dark Lord back for a new age of magic. There's another organization called the Shield of Light who wants to stop them. They have a magic task force within the FBI, which is where Edgar Ramirez's character Candemir comes in. And then you've got 2 poor street cops in way over their head in the forms of Will Smith and Joel Edgerton. It's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie, but it's not a bad movie. You've got a lot of really nice makeup effects. The orcs are very distinct. The elves have a very distinct look to them as well. Some of the situations are stock buddy cop movie. You've seen huge portions of this before. If you've seen Lethal Weapon or Bad Boys, also starring Will Smith, then you've seen huge chunks of this movie before. But there's a lot of it that's very paint by numbers, in my opinion. I am not, particularly fond of some of the casting decisions. Like I said, they hired Will Smith to play Will Smith. He's played this character a whole lot of times before. If you'd wanted to make this movie more interesting to me, you'd put Will Smith in the orc makeup, made him Jacoby, had Joel Edgerton playing the human partner who didn't want him around. Some of the writing, every now and then you're wondering, what were they thinking? There's a scene involving Candemir, the elf special agent, just coming out with a line about, if you act like my enemy, then you become my enemy, out of the middle of nowhere when a bunch of people are trying to help him and cooperate with him. So that didn't make any sense. A lot of it was shot at night, so I wasn't particularly able to see everything. It's kind of dark. They like doing that at Netflix, it seems like, because most of Daredevil was shot at night. We'll get to Daredevil some other time. But it was a fun movie. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it in the sequel, which they have green-lighted. But like I said, I was disappointed with them casting Will Smith to play a character he's played many times before. I was really upset with them not giving Mr. Candemir, Edgar Ramirez's character, more to do, because he just has this. He's fascinating to look at, and I think they seriously underutilized him. What's worse, I think they seriously underutilized Numi Rapace's character Layla, who is the chief bad guy, and she is wonderful. She is spectacular in the few minutes of screen time they give her. There's a lot hinted at. I really think this would have been better served if it had been a limited series, for even 8-episode series, as opposed to a one-off movie. They could have done a lot of world building, a lot of exploration of the characters. There are lots of hints dropped, and we may never know, because they killed one of the characters. I don't see her coming back anytime soon. But they left it open-ended. They have already greenlit a sequel. It is coming, and I'm looking forward to it. Some of the action sequences are mesmerizing. They're a lot of fun to watch. One in particular, since we're talking about games, is very reminiscent of an old Shadowrun scenario. In first edition Shadowrun, they introduced the very first adventure ever introduced for Shadowrun was called Food Fight. It's your player characters going to a convenience store to get some munchies and things, going pear-shaped all at once, and there's a huge firefight. It's primarily meant to learn the system. There's a scene very reminiscent of this, taken to an extraordinary level. Some of the stunt work is amazing. I like the fight choreography, especially in the convenience store scene. But while there has been a lot of talk, especially in gaming circles, about how this is nothing but Shadowrun the movie, it's really not. It owes at least as much to Alien Nation, maybe more, as it does to Shadowrun. It does owe a little bit to Shadowrun, because the premise of Shadowrun is the traditional fantasy races: dwarves, orcs, trolls, elves, coexisting with humans. But the concept of being partnered with an unpopular partner of an entirely different species, you saw that first in Alien Nation, either the James Caan, Mandy Patinkin movie, or the much better series with Gary Graham and Eric Pierpoint. And since we're talking about gaming, the most popular thing that I have seen is people going, "Oh, look, it's Shadowrun the movie," and it would be actually fairly difficult to do this movie as Shadowrun scenarios. Magic works entirely differently in Bright than it does in Shadowrun. And in the world of Bright, it is terrifying and terrifyingly rare. Almost nobody has ever actually seen magic in the modern age in Bright. But in Shadowrun, for as rare as its practitioners are, they have seen it all the time, because magic has provided special effects at concerts. It has worked on movies. People have probably seen a dragon flying around in Shadowrun, where it's extremely rare, from what I'm gathering, to have things like that happening in Bright. The entire plot of Bright revolves around a wand, which is an immensely powerful relic. If you hold a wand, chances are you're going to die because you have to be what they call a bright, thus the title. You have to be a bright to be able to use magic. And they're exceedingly rare. Almost all of them are elves, which is one reason elves are in so much power in this particular universe. Anybody can be a magic user, potentially in Shadowrun. So if you're going to use Shadowrun to do Bright, you'd be skipping all the technology, because it's modern day. There's no cyberware. There's no matrix. It's the internet. You've got what you've got today, only the guy sitting next to you might be a dwarf. He might be a centaur. Yeah, they're centaurs. And as I said, magic is extremely rare in the world of Bright. So, and it works differently. You can raise people from the dead with a magic wand, but you have to have the wand. You can't just, wave your hand and have magic happen. You have to have a wand in Bright. Whereas you don't need any such accoutrement in Shadowrun. So to do Bright in Shadowrun, you'd be ditching all the cyber, most of the technology, in fact. You'd have some of the races, but you'd probably have to rework them because orcs are crazy strong. I mean, lift a car to get a soccer ball out from under it strong. In Bright, they're not as strong in Shadowrun, so you'd have to do some. There'd be a lot of work. You could do it, but it would be a lot of work, and making the magic work would be problematic at best. A somewhat better fit is, believe it or not, D20 Modern. I looked at it, and I was seeing less Shadowrun and more Urban Arcana, the supplement for the D20 Modern system, formerly put out by Wizards of the Coast. Again, all the races are there. Magic is a little more free-form, customizable to your needs. You'd still be stuck, though, with a level and class system, which a lot of people seem to think are evil. You could probably get a really good fit of it with Savage Worlds by Pinnacle Entertainment. Savage Worlds is a much more customizable, I don't want to say generic system, but it is a much more customizable system. You can definitely do more with it in terms of what it would need to have happen. Savage Worlds lends itself, in my opinion, to some very cinematic kinds of situations, which, since this is a movie, you're going to want as much cinematic action as you can. There's phenomenal card chases in Bright. The aforementioned convenience store scene, believe it or not, is part card chase. Its magic system is a little more open. Excuse me. Its magic system is a little more open-ended. You can do a lot of different things with it, in my opinion. You could also use some of the other open game license systems. Cortex Prime, I think you could probably do something with. Fate, certainly you could use to pull this off. But a lot of people saw the orcs, they saw the humans, they saw them, they were cops, and they said Shadowrun, and I didn't see that. But, you know, it was not a bad movie. I don't feel like I wasted my time watching it. I think they need to give it another editing pass, tighten things up a little bit for the sequel. Give the characters something more to do than play off of, you know, what you're expecting from Will Smith and things of that nature. For the movie, I'd give it a solid C plus, 7 out of 10. The gaming aspects, I wouldn't go for the obvious. I would not go for Shadowrun for this movie. I would probably, for myself, use Savage Worlds. I think I could probably pull that universe off a little better with Savage Worlds than with Shadowrun or D20 Modern. I wouldn't mind giving it I'd take a run at it with D20 Modern and Urban Arcana, but I think I'd have to tweak a few things for some people who don't like the class level type of system that it is. But that being said, I enjoyed it. I'm going to watch the sequel when it comes out, and I'm going to try to see if I can't work bits and pieces of it into a game. Thanks for coming by. You have a good evening. We'll talk to you next time.